We're here today to honor the saint, Saint Thomas Aquinas, not the library of books, the kind of living bibliography which passes for a saint's life. To be a saint, to be holy, is to live whatever our way of life is to an exceptional degree. In the case of Saint Thomas Aquinas, that meant being a Dominican friar, and in particular, teaching and preaching. That was his way of life. That was the material under God's grace which made him a saint. Perhaps he himself gave us the best summary of his life as he lay dying after a kind of stroke on his way to the Council of Lyon. He asked, and it's almost the last thing he did, for the Blessed Sacrament to be brought, the Viaticum. And managing to get out of bed and kneel, he said, "For love of you, I have studied and kept vigil. I have toiled and prayed and taught." That's virtually the whole of his life in those words. He was about 49 or 50 when he died. And because of the importance, the value of those literally millions of words he wrote, dictated, it's easy for us to think of him as a kind of Catholic encyclopedia, where probably the best answer going to any theological or even philosophical problem will be found. But that's not what a saint is. A saint is a human being, a woman or a man. It's not a collection of works. Although those works, in his case as in ours, are the shape, the material, the matter of his holiness. When we say that he traveled in many places, we of course forget, perhaps, that he walked. That's part of a vow of poverty. So when we say he went to Orvieto or Paris or Cologne, it was by walking, the toil of teaching in those days. He entered the order in Naples. He died in Naples, or just out of it, on the way to France. And in between, he wrote, taught, prayed, lived as a Dominican, and found his sanctity in that. Probably the Dominican who knew him best was Reginald Priverno, his socius, his companion. And much of what we know of St. Thomas, unlike, say, Augustine, St. Thomas was very discreet about himself in his writings. We know from Reginald, his socius, and Reginald made an observation that perhaps should be at the forefront of our minds today when we consider the saint. Reginald said that whenever St. Thomas met a particular intellectual difficulty, he left his cell, went to the altar, and started crying, sobbing. And after that, he went back to his cell and his writing. When we see that column after column, millions of words, highly systematic, coordinated, we should keep in mind what Aquinas himself meant when he said, "I have toiled and prayed and studied and taught and kept vigil." So behind those endless inches of Latin, there are tears. There are tears behind those texts. And that's partly the measure of his sanctity. Tears because of the effort of grasping naturally, supernaturally, something of the truth of God and his ways for us. And tears of devotion. So the mind as cliffs. We're not a softly whirring computer. The mind as cliffs. Behind those texts, there are tears.